Today I was trying to reach people at work before I came to work, and then I couldn't reach anybody because of heavy rainfall. So things like this will, try to stand in and, chest, let me put it in a more colloquial term, try to chest rainfall and some of these weather conditions. But here's the thing, we must see this in context. South Africa is the first on the African continent to test this, as it is stated here. But for the broader African tech story now, the challenge is not just about innovation. The challenge is not just about innovation at the should I say at the top end. It's about inclusion even at the bottom end. We don't want to see it. Africans, we have so many challenges with implementation and sustainability. So we want to see this, let everybody have access to it. Nigeria, for example, we have over 2 million people, and our broadband penetration is not up to, or is just, let's say, like hovers around 45%, meaning a lot of people are not connected. And we are in a world now where we are saying, we're in a technological world, we're in a digitized world. Yeah. I don't know who don't have a phone. There are people who do not have a phone, even people in urban areas. Let's not leave it to rural areas. Some people in rural areas even have phones than people in urban areas. There are people who are not still connected. So while we are making headway with 5G, where we are talking about, we are moving from 4G to 5G, we should also look at how these things are going to be accessible, how people are going to be connected, how people in the rural areas too are going to be connected, how those struggling with connectivity in urban areas and even in rural areas are going to be connected. We want to have, network for all. It shouldn't just be network for one people. There's also the economic implication of these things, because when 5G first rolled out in Nigeria, I'm being particular about Nigeria now because I know we have this problem of implementation. Like I said, I want to see this replicated in Nigeria. When 5G rolled out first in Nigeria in 2016, it took us like nearly 6 years for it to reach meaningful coverage, for it to reach a lot of people. Yes, I remember when I was, that's in 2016, but I was serving in 2021, say 2021, 2022, and I was going from Abuja to Nasarawa. I remember when I got to Nasarawa, I had to, switch SIM, the one that can cover 4G. Yes, because I'm coming from the FCT, going to Nasarawa, and the FCT, the SIM I was using, cannot, cover for 4G in Nasarawa, so I had to switch SIM. So what I'm going with this is that this whole hype, this whole thing, this infrastructure should cover everybody. It should meet everybody, and it should match the hype of 4G. It should match 5G, because sometimes you hear 5G, and then it was 4G. So when I switch to that 4G, it wasn't like it was that strong. You get so let it match the hype. If we say 5G, because I started rolling 5G in Nigeria too. If we say 5G, let it be 5G. 5G shouldn't be 3G, 2G. So South Africa is doing a good one at the end of the day, and we like to see this. And just like I said, let's make it affordable for people to be able to, connect with this. Yes, I've said so much.
You've said it all. It's a good move. And like you said, other African countries should actually tap into, especially Nigeria, should actually tap into the idea of the telecommunication center in South Africa, of creating a 5G that is effective.
Yes.
That we can come out and say, yes, truly, there's a difference between 5G and 4G, not just the name 5 and 4, but there's an effective use of it in our telecommunications. We want to come to a point where there'll be faster data connections.
Yes. Yeah.
We can do that. I think it's possible with the fact that AI has made so many things simpler, or technology has evolved.
We need something that will make us access it
we
easily.
can be in the midst of storm and still get connection.
Yes, true.
Of course.
True.
This reminds me of I think one of my friends that stays outside, and we're talking about that. I was talking to the person on WhatsApp, and I told the person my data connection was not strong. And funny enough, I was using a Wi-Fi Wi-Fi connection, and she said, "Are you still suffering from data connection?" the connection there,
in some part of the world
you might just
already.
enter the train, and your connection is still there. So please, let's move beyond even having our own personal. Yeah, it's good to have but let the Wi-Fi that we have work for us. I know we'll get to the point where our connections around the country, there'll be Wi-Fi around the country where you can move to any place and connect to a Wi-Fi. We'll move to that place. But before we get there, let's make sure that the one we have is actually working and can be banked on.
Yeah, so to the last news.
Okay, to the last news, we see that Ibom Air passenger remand spark outcry of selective justice in Nigeria. We see that Comfort Emerson, a female passenger remanded at Kirikiri Correctional Center, is allegedly assaulting an Ibom Air cabin crew member of the airport society officer during the Uyo-Lagos flight has ignited a wave of public outrage over perceived selective justice. Video showed Emerson slapping staff after refusing to switch off her phone before takeoff. Ibom Air reported that she nearly used a fire extinguisher against the official and have since banned her permanently from flying. Enforcement of aviation law. Enforcement of aviation law. I think we were talking about this story in our newspaper review today, and we were supposed to have a lawyer come in and talk extensively on this particular issue when it comes to the law. And when it comes to the law in Nigeria, we must understand it. That we say the law is nobody's above the law, but when it comes to wealth, let's tell ourselves the truth. When it comes to wealth and name in Nigeria, there are people that are above the law. There are people that can bypass, not above the law, let's say bypass the law. There's nobody above the law, but there are people that bypasses the law because of wealth and name, in quotes. So imagine this kind of situation that happened. And we're not saying justice was not served. Justice was served. But people now are trying to compare this to the situation of the other man who also had an issue with a valid jet flight. They're trying to compare and contrast what's happening. The justice that's been served to, what's her name, has not been served to this man. What are we saying? What are we saying? And I think that's the major thing that is bringing critics or criticism on this government outburst. And that's why people are standing and coming against the government at all points. We're not saying what you did to the woman, because personally, what she did on that air was not right. We all know when going on an airplane, you're supposed to switch off your phone. You hear the air hostess telling you all of that. Even before the attendant comes to meet you, there's an announcement that goes out for that. So we believe that you should actually obey or adhere. Now, her behavior was not right. She was served the justice she deserved. Even if she was she was struggling with the people that came, the police officials that came to walk her out. We are not saying that is the problem. Our problem is, can justice be served to people despite their background or financial status or status in the country?
Yeah, this story of Comfort have been trending since I think late hours of yesterday. Yeah. I think towards the evening time of yesterday until today. And just like you said, most of the eyebrows raising as regards to this issue is not just because of how she acted. Everybody knows that she acted unruly. She was not nice at all. Her character was not nice. What she exhibited there was was very, very much unacceptable. But then, these her actions now, people are saying, it's not, just like I said, we do not want to excuse her actions, but people are saying what her case, this has brought about, what her case has brought about selective justice, if I should put it that way, because of what happened earlier in the week as well, last week, was it last week or earlier in the week? And it's still trending with Wasiu Ayinde, that's Kwam One, we all know as Kwam One, the Nigerian Fuji musician. how the same similar thing happened. He was refused taking a liquid substance inside the plane, and then
Hey folks, welcome.
he acted out of place. And then same thing with Comfort Emerson. She was refused, or she was asked to put off her phone or something. You always do that when you get into the plane, but then she acted out of place as well. And then we saw her, the video is, we saw the video I'm playing. We
Video is
just
really
watched the video. The
trending.
video is trending, but we know why this video is trending. So this is not the, what we are saying here is that most passengers, most times they act this way. Although we have never, we are in a digital world now where everybody is bringing out their phone and we see things like this, blah, 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 and all. But then we are comparing the legal consequence here. Wasiu Ayinde's matter was said to be under investigation, while Comfort was quickly taken to Kirikiri prison, and we heard that she's already been convicted for the crime and the assault she perpetrated or committed. But then Kwam is still under investigation. He even still has the chance to even come out, put out a video, and he was begging and he was apologizing rather to Nigerians and to the aviation agency, and the people involved in the whole thing, that he was sorry, and to his fans that he was sorry. So he had the time to do all this thing. So Nigerians this is not the first time we have seen it, just like I said before, even in other aspects. In 2010, I remember James Ibori was also, that's the former governor of Delta State. Yeah. I know that he was under trial, and he collapsed in Nigeria. When he was under trial, he collapsed, and it was like they rushed in, and that was how the case died. But he was convicted in the UK for the same evidence of how money laundering and all of those things, of fraudulent. He was convicted in the UK for the same thing. He was
convicted for in Nigeria.
He wasn't convicted for it in Nigeria. When he was undergoing trial, he collapsed, and that was how the case ended.
Because he fainted.
Yeah, but in the UK, he was convicted for the same thing. So this is to say that, this perception has stuck with Nigerians. The powerful, the rich, the mighty, they can evade accountability, they can evade justice, they can evade everything, because they have, because they are connected, because they have the power, because they have the full weight of the law in their own hands, rather than the law coming on them. Like, they have it in their own hands. So this has carried on for a long time. And in the aviation, in the aviation sector, sorry, I beg your pardon for that. In the aviation sector specifically, there's this kind of selective enforcement. When they see, I'm not saying this for sure, but most times, it happens in every sector too. When you go to a place and one big man enters somewhere, or one big woman like this enter, or the kid of a region, they'll allow you
the queue doesn't matter.
Pass first, and the person gets what they want to do done before. It has happened to me when I went to, the immigration to get my passport, and then, they allowed, we were waiting there for hours, and then you see people just walking, sir, well done, sir, and all of those things, and then they pass and they get their stuff done. So this has been consistently happening, and it's not just peculiar to the aviation sector. And even members of the cabin crew and all the aviation, the airport securities, you see them, there's this mentality of, they'll just allow people go in, maybe when they are tipped. Sometimes Kwam acted that way because I am just saying, not for sure, but that may not be his first time carrying alcohol into a plane. It may not be his first time. He has been doing it. Maybe that day he met with somebody that went heads on with him and did not agree or doesn't support such character or such way of doing things. So I think we need to be what the public is asking for with this is that we want to be confident in our system. We want to trust our system. We want a system that will not erode compromise authority over safety, or compromise authority over safety. That's what people are just asking for. If she's going to be convicted of similar acts that somebody perpetrated last week,
Pardoned for.
or was pardoned for, then him too must come under the law for it. That's what Nigerians are saying, but we don't know best. We are not legal practitioners. So let's quickly take the recap so we can move to the discussion segment. So we brought to you news that the federal government orders evacuation of inmate from Abeokuta Custodial Center.
We also brought to you the baby dies after illegal female genital mutilation in Gambia.
We brought to you news that Vodacom completes South Africa's first 5G voice call.
And the last headline, Ibom air passenger remanded sparks outcry over selective justice in Nigeria.
Okay, that's the news headlines we have for you today. But still stick with us. Don't go nowhere because we have the discussion segment coming up shortly after this break. Stay with us. Thank you for still sticking with us. You're still watching the Idea Morning Digest, and right now we want to bring you proper into the discussion segment. So if you've just joined us, we'll bring you the top stories that are making headlines today in Nigeria and in Africa. But this time around, we are going to, for the discussion segment, we're going to move back to Gambia. We started talking about female genital mutilation. So a 1-month-old baby girl has tragically died after undergoing female genital mutilation, or FGM, popularly known as FGM, a practical outlawed there since 2015. Authorities have arrested 2 women in connection with the incident. But beyond the arrest, this is sparking outrage and, calls for urgent action to protect young girls. It's a sobering reminder that even with laws in place, cultural traditions can remain stubbornly entrenched. And the Gambia still has one of the highest FGM rates in the world. 73% of women between 15 and 49 have undergone the procedure, often before the age of 6. And while globally more than 70 countries ban it, the reality on ground is that enforcement is rare. So in the Gambia, only 2 prosecutions have been recorded since the ban. So today we want to have an honest conversation, not just about what happened in the Gambia, but about the bigger question. When culture harms, how do we protect the vulnerable? We started talking about this in the discussion segment, and when we hear of a story like this, our first reaction is shock. For me, it's sadness, because we have been pursuing this for a long time. It has been banned in many African countries. Yes, policy have been put in place, but how well are we enforcing this policy? How well are we seeing that this policy is, acted on? This policy is, people are compliant with this policy. And also another feeling when I hear this story is also anger. As much as I am sad for that little girl, and I'm so empathetic right now, I feel this serious anger. But if we pause for a moment, we'll realize that this is not an isolated tragedy, just like I said before. It is this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are deeper aspects to this. Female genital mutilation, what we all know as FGM, is not just a harmful cultural practice. It's an institution that has been passed down, from one generation to, another. Let's just say from generations, and it's been wrapped with, the cause of tradition, the language of tradition that will say morality. Like we were discussing back stage before we came on set. We were talking about, the moral attachment to this, stigmatization, and sometimes even you spoke about religion. You were talking about how religion is a part of these things and how we should tread carefully when we want to talk about these issues. So let's understand. I've just created the background of what female genital mutilation is. What do you understand by this? Where do you and why is it done? What has it done, rather? The health implication, and what do you understand by this?
So first, I would say that this is PG-18 at this point because we'll be speaking extensively, a little bit, not totally.
Let's
first
tone
of all,
it down.
It's the cutting of the female genital system. I think we're talking about this in backstage, at the backstage, and you know what I see in this? Why I said we should not really tone it down is because when it comes to tradition and now, the tradition of before and trying to keep tradition, we talked about the reason why this was performed before. And you mentioned something like the reason why women were not supposed to actually enjoy what we call as sex, you get? And that's the major reason why they cut off this particular part of a woman. And I'm like, what's remaining there at that position? There's nothing there again. And you said the women were kept for giving birth alone. And if you look at it, truly, that's what our forefathers believe. Our forefathers, dating back 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, they believed that women were supposed to be in the kitchen. What am I even saying, 2,000? I'm going far. Dating back 1890s,
18th century.
18th century, sorry, and the 19th centuries. We were seeing women being kept in the kitchen. You were just supposed to get married. Female child was supposed to just be there, get married, give birth to children, especially male children, to carry on the name, give birth to another children, be there. Some of them even married their children at a little age. So they didn't see the usefulness of women in the society. But now we have come to an age where we see the usefulness of a woman in the society. And that's why most of these particular practices sound appalling to our ears. If we were in those days, when we hear these kind of things, I'm not sure we would even shake because we believe that it's a normal thing.
It's culture, it's normal.
It's culture, thank you. That's why I'm saying I don't really want to crush them down, but let's all look at the medical parts of this.
Thank you. You said we should look at the health risks.
It is risky.
Yes. So, talking about the health risks, there are, the health risks are horrifying because just like that little girl, how she died was due to over severe bleeding. So some of the health risks are severe bleeding. And even those who survive, like I said, the World Health Organizations have confirmed that over how many percent of women, I think up to 45% or so, or 75%, have been mutilated. Yes. In men, they call it circumcision.
Yeah.
But that's, if we go to the Bible, we know it's approved for men. But then for women, we don't know how. But then, just like you said, I don't know where we need to cross the line with tradition.
Religion.
Health. I don't even want to buy a whole lot of things. It also causes infertility. Yes, and even death, just like we've seen in the case of this little baby, and even death. But we really talk about these issues. Moving on to the psychological effects of these things now. It has a whole lot of psychological. I'm talking about it and I'm squinting. I don't know, I'm making faces because of how I'm feeling with this. imagine I was in that shoe. I mean, some of these girls grow up not to understand or understand the value of
The value
sex, of sexual intercourse. They do not understand what is there to be enjoyed in sex. They do not understand a whole lot of things. They just understand a whole lot of things. They just grow up and then they met themselves. I mean, survivors often live with this post-traumatic stress disorders. They have chronic anxiety, just like I said before, sexual intimacy issues, let me put it that way. So they suffer from a whole lot of things. Some that are even aware of it, that maybe theirs was done when they were like 15 years of age. When you are 15, you are grown. You can remember what happened to you, and keeps playing in your head. Imagine they carry a knife and start cutting you. I mean, you will shout and it will be in your head. You cannot forget it. So come to talk of the delicate parts of the body like that. And women are, I mean, the pain is, like I've read, it's twice like the experience of childbirth. So you can imagine it, and it brings many complications to childbirth as well. God created these things. I want us to understand where, I don't know where biology stands, and there are so many ways. In Africa, it's always a broad topic, and like you said before, we have to tread carefully. But then, how much of treading carefully are we going to do when our health is, being put at risk? And then, Deborah, I want to talk about also the deeply, entrenched cultural practices, just like you said. These practices, like we said, they don't just disappear.
Yeah.
Yes, tradition don't just disappear until now. And truly, we cannot just throw away some of our traditions. We have our own beliefs.
Yeah.
We have our own traditions. But like I said, when tradition is hurting us, then we should know where to put a stop to it. Africa is not the only continent practicing this.
No.
Some other part of the world, even in China, some other part of the world, I know this is still being practiced. But then, there was abolition of some of these things. But with strict follow-up on law enforcement, that is where the problem is now with the Gambia. It is said that it has been banned since, is it 2016 or when?
Yeah.
Why is it that in 2025, a child will still die of this? I mean, I don't know if you have something to say about the cultural aspect and...
Like we said, the cultural aspect of it, I feel like we would tread carefully, like we have been saying. It has deep roots already. There are some cultural practice that has deeply eaten into not just a country, but the minds of people, the citizens of those particular country. Now there are policies that are kept. This thing has been banned, but when it comes to culture deeply rooted in a person, it's just like me telling you, my mother told me this is how things were being done, and I grow my child in that format. And my child tells her child, this is how my mother said, and I grow, you get, this is how it's being passed. So even if we come into a new age where all of this is supposed to vanish or it's supposed to go away, and a doctor come and tells you that practice that your mother told you that her mother before her mother, that has been working for all of them, will not work for you because of some medical challenges. It's very hard to actually accept it and now decide to stop it. That's why if you notice the news, we say that this thing has been going on underground. These are the ones that we're hearing of, the ones we're seeing. That means there are girls that they carry this procedure out and they don't die, and probably are exposed to infection. So I don't know how the government wants to come in when it comes to law enforcement on this.
I think that's where it really bites. The role of enforcement is where this issue really bites. Like in the Gambia, there have been only 2 prosecutions since the ban. 2 in a country where these things happen every day, like you said, underground. That means the leaders, politicians, I mean, including people who stakeholders, are in opposition of this ban. If we look at it, they are gambling with people's life. If you put up a policy or an enforcement, if you put something like this in place, that this shouldn't carry on again in this country, then you have to ensure that people are compliant with it, you have to follow through. You have to see that people are you know, people follow this, and we cannot continue with this quiet arrest and continue and be going on for a long time. And I think this is where education comes in. We have to do more with education. We have to, you know, make sure we educate parents, educate young girls, tell them of faith, let them understand where faith and dignity comes in, let them understand the health issues attached to these things without attacking traditions. I think this is where we'll bring it to an end for today, but this is something I would want us to still talk about, and probably maybe bring a medical practitioner and bring people in advocating for such things. So we want to hear from you, our viewers. How do you think African societies can balance respect for culture with the need to protect children for harmful traditions? Share your thoughts with us, and share your thoughts with us on our social media handles at Idea Television, and of course send it via our email at ideatelevisionlimited. This is where we say bye for now. It's been good having you here. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and I've been with
Jacobs Deborah.